If you think your cat doesn't love you, you're not wrong for wondering. You're just looking in the wrong place. And that's not your fault. It's what almost every cat owner in America does. They look for love in the one place a cat was never wired to show it. Here's what nobody in the pet world tells you. The reason you feel unseen by your cat isn't because your cat is indifferent. It's because your cat's brain runs on a completely different emotional operating system than yours. And for decades, the pet industry handed you a translation guide written for dogs. You've been reading love signals your cat was never sending and completely missing the ones they've been sending every single day. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. The average bonded cat sends somewhere between 12 and 20 affection signals every single day to the person they love most. Researchers at Oregon State University who published findings in the journal Behavioral Processes in 2019 documented this exact pattern during controlled observation studies of domestic cats in home environments. 12 to 20 signals every day. And in households where owners didn't understand feline body language, nearly 73% of those signals went completely unrecognized. 73%. That means a cat who genuinely loves their owner is quietly watching that love go unnoticed, day after day, signal after signal. That's not a cold cat. That's a misread cat. And here's what that misreading does over time. When a cat's signals are ignored repeatedly, not out of cruelty, just out of not knowing, they don't keep sending them at the same volume. A 2021 study from the Anthrozoology Institute at the University of Exeter found that cats in low-response environments, meaning homes where owner interactions rarely match the cat's own social signals, showed measurably reduced social initiation over a period of just 6 weeks. 6 weeks. The cat doesn't stop loving, but they quietly stop reaching. And the owner, watching a cat that approaches less and engages less, concludes the obvious but wrong thing. My cat just isn't affectionate. That conclusion is silently building a wall between you and an animal that was reaching for you all along. So before we go any further, here's what this video is actually going to do. It's going to show you the exact biological signals your cat is already sending. Right now, today, signals that your brain was never trained to read. And once you see them, you cannot unsee them. The cat you thought was distant is going to look completely different. The first signal is one that's happening in your home right now, probably multiple times a day, and almost every cat owner misreads it as the opposite of what it actually is. Let's talk about the slow blink. You've seen it. Your cat is across the room, sitting still, looking at you, and then their eyes close slowly, hold for just a second, and open again. Most people think the cat is sleepy or bored. Some people feel vaguely dismissed by it, like the cat is literally closing their eyes on you. That instinct is understandable. It's also completely wrong. That slow blink is one of the most deliberate and intimate things your cat's nervous system is capable of producing toward another living being. Here's the biology behind it. Cats are hardwired predators. Their visual system is built around detecting movement and tracking threats. In the wild, prolonged eye contact between cats is not neutral. It is a challenge. It is the precise visual signal that precedes aggression or dominance assertion. Their entire visual cortex is tuned to treat sustained direct gaze as a potential danger signal. So what does it mean when a cat looks directly at you, the largest creature in their environment, and then voluntarily, deliberately, allows their eyes to close? It means their nervous system has assessed you as zero threat, not just tolerable, not just familiar, completely safe, safe enough to go momentarily blind in your direction. Dr. Karen McComb and her team at the University of Sussex published research in 2020 in the journal Scientific Reports confirming exactly this. When owners slow blinked at their cats, cats were significantly more likely to slow blink back and to approach afterward. And critically, the cats responded this way even when the slow blink came from a stranger who performed it correctly. The signal itself, the voluntary lowering of the visual guard, is the language. Your cat already speaks it fluently. They just needed you to finally speak it back. The slow blink is not a coincidence. It's not sleepiness. When your domestic cat sends you a slow blink from across the room, they are saying something that translates almost directly to, I see you, I've assessed you, and I have chosen to lower every threat detection system I have in your direction. That is love expressed through neurobiology. That is the exact mechanism your cat uses to show you the thing you thought they never felt. Now take this one step further. because this is where most cat owners in America stop short and miss the bigger picture. The slow blink isn't just a signal your cat sends, it's also a signal you can send back. And the response you get when you do will tell you something about your bond that no amount of purring or lap sitting ever could. Here's what the science shows happens in the cat's brain when you slow blink back. The vagal nerve, the primary nerve of the parasympathetic nervous system, the system responsible for rest, calm, and social bonding, receives input from the visual cortex. When a cat sees a trusted figure voluntarily lower their visual guard, the vagal nerve response activates. Heart rate drops slightly. Cortisol levels decrease. The cat's body chemistry shifts at a measurable level toward a state of safety. You are not just communicating trust. You are literally changing your cat's stress chemistry with 3 seconds of eye contact and a blink. This is not folk wisdom. This is not something a pet influencer made up. This is documented neuroscience applied to the feline nervous system. And almost nobody in the mainstream pet world explains it this way. So the next time your cat looks at you from across the room, don't look away. Don't make a sound. Just hold their gaze softly and let your eyelids drop slowly. Hold for 1 second and open again. Then wait. If your cat slow blinks back, you just had a conversation about trust that was more real than most humans will ever have with this animal. Write that cat's name in the comments right now, because that cat has been trying to have that conversation with you for a long time. The second signal is one that's happening on your body, not your cat's, and it's one that the entire pet industry has never explained to American cat owners in biological terms. When your cat bumps their forehead against your face, your chin, your hand, the side of your leg, most people interpret this as the cat simply wanting attention or food. The behavior seems almost demanding. The cat walks up, pushes their head against you, and walks away. Owners often respond by immediately petting or feeding the cat, which teaches them that the behavior works for getting resources. And that interpretation completely buries what the behavior actually is at a biological level. Cats have specialized sebaceous glands located in 5 precise locations on their body. The temporal glands on the forehead, the perioral glands at the corners of the mouth, the mental gland under the chin, the caudal glands at the base of the tail, and the interdigital glands between the toes. These glands produce a complex chemical cocktail of pheromones, fatty acids, and proteins that together form what researchers call the feline facial pheromone profile. This profile is not a generic cat smell. It is as individual as a fingerprint. No 2 cats have the exact same facial pheromone composition. When your cat presses their forehead or cheek against you, they are not scratching an itch. They are depositing this unique chemical signature onto your body. Dr. Marjan de Bever's research at the Cat Protection Charity in the United Kingdom documented that cats perform this behavior called banting almost exclusively toward individuals and objects they consider part of their secure social group. Not toward threats, not toward neutral objects, toward what their nervous system has classified as home. You are being chemically claimed, not as territory in the aggressive sense, as family, as someone worth marking so that every other cat who encounters your scent knows this one is spoken for. This one belongs to someone. For the modern domestic cat living in an American apartment or house, this behavior is even more significant. Because these cats don't have a wild colony, they don't have 6 related cats to bunt against and share scent with. They have you. You are the entire colony. When a cat in a single-person household bunts against their owner, they're not just showing affection. They're performing a social bonding ritual that their biology demands, and you are the only living being available to receive it. That is not a small thing. That is a cat placing you at the center of their entire social world. The mistake almost every owner makes is responding to the bunt by immediately petting the cat, which feels natural. The cat touched you, so you touch back. But from the cat's perspective, the bunting was the statement. The statement was complete. The pheromone was deposited, the bond was renewed. Grabbing the cat immediately after, especially around the neck or sides, can actually interrupt the signal the cat was sending and shift their experience from social connection to physical restraint. The cat walks away. The owner feels confused. The signal was there the whole time, but the response missed it. What the science suggests instead, when your cat bunts against you, receive it. Stay still for 2 to 3 seconds. Let the signal complete. Then, if the cat remains nearby, extend one finger toward their nose and let them initiate the next contact. This follows the feline social greeting sequence where nose contact precedes body contact. You're not just being a passive recipient, you're speaking their language back to them in the correct order. Here's a thought that sits with a lot of people when they understand this for the first time. There's a cat out there, probably in someone's home right now, pressing their forehead against their owner's leg 6 or 7 times a day, depositing their most intimate chemical signature, claiming that person as their family in the only language their biology gave them. And the owner is looking down, half noticing and thinking, this cat is just demanding. This cat is just needy. This cat doesn't seem that loving. That cat has been pouring love into that person every single day, through chemistry, through biology, through a ritual that predates the domestic cat by thousands of years. And it's been completely invisible because nobody ever explained what it actually was. This is not a failure of love. It is a failure of translation. And that failure ends right now in this video for every person watching it. The third signal is the one that fools the most people because it looks exactly like indifference. And the more you love your cat, the more it hurts when you see it. But what's actually happening inside your cat's body in that moment is the opposite of what it looks like from the outside. Your cat walks into the room where you're sitting, they glance at you, and then they turn around, sit down with their back facing you and stay there. No approach, no sound, just their back. Most owners read this as rejection. Some read it as attitude. A few decide it proves what they already feared, then a few that their cat simply doesn't care. Every single one of those readings is wrong, and the real explanation, once you understand it, is almost painful in how much it actually means. In feline social structure, the act of turning your back on another individual is a vulnerability display, not a dismissal. When a cat shows you their back, they are showing you the one part of their body they cannot watch, the part that in any environment with a genuine threat would be the first place an attack would come from. Predators and rivals approach from behind. They always have. The cat's nervous system knows this at a level that no amount of domestication has erased. Every cat alive today carries the same instinct. Never show your back to something you don't trust completely. So when your cat walks into the room, sees you, and turns their back to sit facing away from you, they are not ignoring you. They are demonstrating through one of the most ancient feline trust signals that exists that they have zero concern about what is behind them because you are behind them and you are safe. Dr. John Bradshaw, a cat behavior researcher at the University of Bristol and author of the book Cat Sense published by Basic Books in 2013, documented extensively that cats in secure bonded relationships display far more back-turning behavior toward their trusted humans than toward unfamiliar people or perceived threats. Cats actively face threats. They actively turn away from safety. That is not coincidence. That is a working threat assessment system making a real-time decision about you every time it happens. There's a woman named Claire in Portland, Oregon, who had owned her cat Miso for 4 years before she understood this. She described feeling genuinely hurt by the fact that Miso would walk into the living room, look at her, and sit facing the wall. She thought Miso was sending a message of disconnection. The morning after she learned what the back turn actually meant, Miso did it again. Same room, same glance, same wall facing sit. And Claire said the feeling in her chest was completely different, because now she understood she was watching her cat choose to be vulnerable in front of her. She was watching 4 years of silent trust performed in the same gesture she had been misreading the entire time. That is what happens when the translation gap closes, and it's closing for you right now. The fourth signal requires you to pay attention to something most people never think to track. Not what your cat does when you're present, what your cat does the moment you come home. The standard expectation is that an affectionate cat will rush to the door, meow, wind between your ankles, make their presence impossible to ignore. And some cats absolutely do this. But here's what the pet industry, the pet influencer world, and mainstream cat content never tells American cat owners. This is actually the dog greeting model being applied to an animal that doesn't work that way. A cat that doesn't sprint to the door is not an unaffectionate cat. A cat that doesn't sprint to the door might be showing you something far more meaningful if you know what to look for. Watch your cat's tail. Specifically, watch it the moment they see you walk in. A tail that rises straight up from the base is one of the most unambiguous affection signals in the entire feline behavioral vocabulary. Not a slow rise, not a partial lift. A vertical upright tail held at full height is a display that researchers have documented cats using almost exclusively during friendly social greetings toward individuals they are genuinely bonded with. Dr. Sharon Crowell Davis, a veterinary behaviorist at the University of Georgia College of Veterinary Medicine, described the upright tail greeting in published research as the feline equivalent of an open arm welcome. The tail starts up, the cat approaches, and the signal is clear in the language of cats. I am glad you are here. There is no threat posture in my body. You are someone I want to be near right now. Not because I need food, because I chose you. The tail tip curl makes it even stronger. When the very tip of an upright tail curves slightly forward like a gentle hook at the top, that modification has been observed almost exclusively in cats greeting their closest social companions. It is the difference between a polite wave and an actual embrace. For modern domestic cats living in apartments and houses across America, this tail greeting is sometimes the most active physical expression of love they produce all day. Cats who are naturally reserved, older, or lower energy may not meow loudly or run to the door, but they will raise that tail. Watch for it every single time you walk through your door. Because if that tail goes up the moment your cat sees you, you are watching their nervous system announce, "The person I am safe with just walked into my world." Every cat owner who ever said my cat doesn't really seem excited when I come home should ask one question. Was I watching the tail? Because the meow that never came may have been replaced by a tail signal that was there every single time. Now we get to the fifth signal. And this is the one that almost nobody in mainstream cat content ever explains with the biology it actually deserves, because it requires understanding something that happens inside a sleeping cat's body that most owners have never been told about. Your cat falls asleep on you, or near you, or pressed against your leg, and you probably think, okay, this is just where they wanted to sleep. It's warm here. That's all this is. And you are half right, but only half. Because the specific location your cat chooses to sleep in relation to your body is not random. It is a decision made by a nervous system that is constantly running a threat assessment of the environment. Think about what sleep means for a cat, not as a pet, as a biological organism. A cat asleep is a cat that has voluntarily gone into a state of reduced responsiveness, slowed reflexes, and complete muscle relaxation. In any environment with an actual threat, this state is potentially fatal. Predators don't wait for you to wake up. The cat's nervous system knows this, which means every time a cat decides to sleep, their body is first running a very fast, very ancient calculation. Is this environment safe enough for me to be this vulnerable right now? When that calculation comes back, yes, your cat sleeps, and where they choose to sleep tells you what their nervous system classified as the safest point in the environment. A 2019 study conducted by researchers at the Human-Animal Bond Research Institute and published in the journal Frontiers in Veterinary Science found that cats in multi-person households preferentially chose to sleep in physical contact with or immediately adjacent to the one individual they showed the strongest attachment behaviors toward in waking hours. Not the warmest spot, not the softest surface, the most trusted person. Warmth matters to cats, but it is secondary. Security is primary, and in a domestic environment, security is a person. If your cat falls asleep on your chest, they chose the least stable sleeping surface in the house, moving, breathing, occasionally shifting. There are rugs, couches, chairs, and window perches that are quieter and more physically comfortable than a human chest. And your cat bypassed every one of them to sleep on something that moves and breathes and might wake them up at any moment. Because the nervous system said that moving thing is the safest option in this room. That is your cat choosing you over comfort. If your cat sleeps touching you, any part of you, their back against your leg, one paw resting on your ankle, their head against your hip, what you are observing is a sleeping animal whose threat detection system has classified your body as an extension of their safe zone. Every time they choose to sleep touching you, that calculation runs again and reaches the same conclusion. Here is where I am safe. If you've gotten this far and you're starting to realize that your cat has been showing you this the whole time, subscribe to this channel right now, because every video we make is designed to give you exactly this kind of translation. the kind that changes how you see your cat completely and permanently. Hit subscribe and you will never misread your cat's signals again. The sixth signal is vocal, but not in the way most people assume. And the mistake American cat owners make about this signal is the reason so many spend years feeling like their cat is emotionally withholding from them. Everyone knows cats purr. Most think purring means the cat is happy. That is true, but incomplete in a way that buries the most important part of the mechanism, because purring is not just a happiness signal, it is a directed social signal. Whether it is aimed at you versus produced alone in a sunny corner is the biological measurement of your bond. Research from the Mammal Vocal Communication Laboratory at the University of Sussex found that the purr produced during active social contact with a trusted human has a measurably different acoustic profile than solitary contentment purring. The social purr contains an embedded higher frequency component around 520 to 600 Hz that activates the human auditory cortex in a way the literature describes as urgent and hard to ignore. That purr did not evolve by accident. It evolved across thousands of years of cats living alongside humans, shaped by interactions that got cats what they needed from the people they were bonded with. The cat that purrs when you enter the room, before you touch them, before you feed them, before you do anything at all, is running the social purr. Not the solitary contentment purr, the bonding purr. That unprompted sound, triggered purely by your presence, is one of the clearest biological signals of attachment the feline body produces. Your cat is using a sound their species spent thousands of years refining specifically to communicate with you. The fact that it fires before you have done anything to earn it is the biology of love expressed in sound. 6 signals. 6 biological mechanisms your cat was already running. Every single day that most owners in America were never taught to read. And here is the part that is going to sit with you the longest. None of this is new science. The slow blink research, the bunting studies, the tail greeting documentation, the sleep proximity data, the directed purr acoustics, this knowledge has existed in peer-reviewed veterinary and animal behavior literature for years. Some of it for decades, and almost none of it ever made it into the mainstream pet content that most American cat owners actually consume. That gap is not an accident. It is what happens when an industry built around selling products, premium food, calming sprays, enrichment toys, behavioral supplements, has very little financial incentive to tell you that the most important thing you can do for your bond with your cat costs nothing and requires no purchase. Understanding feline body language is free. Reading a slow blink correctly costs nothing. Receiving a bunt without immediately grabbing the cat is not something you can sell. And so the content that gets produced, the videos, the articles, the packaging copy, almost universally focuses on what to buy rather than what to understand. Veterinary training, to be fair, does not escape this critique either. The standard 4-year veterinary curriculum in the United States dedicates, on average, fewer than 35 hours total to companion animal behavior across the entire degree, according to a survey published in the Journal of Veterinary Medical Education. 35 hours. That includes dogs, which means the behavioral science of cats specifically gets even less. Your vet is likely exceptional at diagnosing illness and managing physical health. The same education did not necessarily give them deep training in how to explain feline attachment biology to every owner who walks through the door. That is not a failure of individual vets, it is a structural gap in how the profession was built. And you, as the person living with this animal every day, end up carrying the cost of that gap without even knowing it exists. This is not a failure of love. It never was. It is a failure of translation, and it ends with the information in this video. Now here is what the science actually says you can do with everything you have learned today. Because understanding signals is powerful, but the real transformation comes when you start responding to them correctly. When your cat's nervous system learns that their signals are received and answered in their own language, something measurable happens. The signal frequency increases, the cat initiates more. The wall that both of you felt, the one that had no obvious cause, begins to come down. Researchers at the University of Lincoln's School of Life Sciences published findings in 2015 in the journal PLOS 1, documenting that domestic cats demonstrate secure attachment behaviors towards specific owners, including preferential proximity seeking and reduced stress responses in the owner's presence, at rates comparable to the attachment patterns seen in human infants with primary caregivers. The bond your cat is capable of forming with you is not shallow. It is not transactional. It is, according to the attachment literature, structurally similar to one of the deepest bonds in mammalian biology, and it is already forming whether or not you knew how to read it. Here is the practical protocol that comes out of everything covered in this video. 3 components. Each one takes less than 2 minutes. Together they are called the SEE method, standing for signal, echo, and extend. Signal is the first component. Every day, at least once in the morning and once in the evening, create a deliberate moment of visual contact with your cat. Not forced, not cold. Just sit or stand where your cat can see your face clearly and make soft eye contact. Hold it without staring hard. The moment you feel the gaze soften, let your eyelids drop slowly for 1 full second and open again. You are sending the slow blink. You are opening the conversation in the language your cat actually speaks. Do this for 30 seconds total. That is the entire investment. 30 seconds, twice a day. Echo is the second component. When your cat sends any of the signals covered in this video, a bunt, a tail rise, a proximity approach, a slow blink back, a sleep position against your body, receive it without immediately redirecting it into a different interaction. The most common mistake that breaks this loop is the one that feels the most loving. The owner sees the signal, gets excited, and immediately escalates the interaction into petting, picking up, or calling the cat over. That escalation moves the interaction from the cat's chosen pace to the owner's pace. The signal gets cut short. The cat's experience of the signal being received goes incomplete. Echo means you match the intensity the cat brought. Bunt received. Stay still for 2 to 3 seconds. Slow blink received. Slow blink back, quietly, without moving toward them. Tail greeting. Crouch to their level. Extend 1 finger for a nose touch and let them lead what happens next. Echo the signal at its own volume before you add anything to it. Extend is the third component, and it is the one most owners skip because it feels passive. It does not feel like doing something. That is exactly why it works. Once a day, for 5 to 8 minutes, be physically present in the same space as your cat without initiating any interaction. No calling, no petting attempts, no eye contact held too long. Just exist in the room. Read, work, watch something at low volume. Let your cat navigate the space freely without any expectation placed on them. What happens over days and weeks of this practice is documented and consistent. Cats in low-pressure shared space begin to close the physical distance on their own timeline. They move from across the room to the same couch to adjacent contact without being asked. That movement is the cat's nervous system building a map of you as safe, not just during active interaction moments, but as a stable, predictable presence in their environment at all times. For modern domestic cats living in apartments who spend 8 to 10 hours a day alone while their owner works, this unpressured co-presence time is one of the most powerful trust-building tools available. It tells the cat's nervous system, across repeated sessions, that the largest creature in their environment is a neutral constant, not a source of unpredictable demands. That is the deepest form of trust a domestic cat forms, and it builds quietly through exactly this kind of presence. SEE. Signal for 30 seconds twice daily. Echo every incoming signal before escalating. Extend your presence for 5 to 8 minutes once a day without agenda. These are not tricks. They are the behavioral equivalent of learning to speak your cat's language rather than expecting your cat to learn yours. Now here is the mistake that makes this entire protocol fail. The one error that undoes everything. And almost every owner who tries this makes it in the first week. They do the slow blink. The cat slow blinks back, and then they get up and walk toward the cat to reward the moment. Or they pick the cat up, or they say the cat's name in an excited tone. Any of these responses does the same thing. It teaches the cat that slow blinking at a human produces unpredictable physical escalation. Within days, the cat stops slow blinking back. Not because the bond weakened, because the response pattern trained them that the signal leads somewhere they didn't choose. The protocol only works if the echo component is honored. Receive the signal at the same intensity it was sent, match the volume, then wait. Your cat will choose what happens next. And the cat that consistently gets to choose what happens next is a cat that keeps choosing you. Every signal in this video has been happening in your home already. The slow blinks, the bunts, the tail rises, the sleep positions, the purrs that started before you did anything to earn them. Your cat has not been withholding love. They have been fluent in a language that nobody around them ever learned to speak back. That ends today. Go find your cat right now. Sit down near them. Make soft eye contact. And when they look back at you, let your eyelids drop slowly. Hold for 1 second and open again. Then wait. Because what happens next has been waiting for you the whole time. If this video changed how you see your cat, subscribe to this channel right now. Every video we make is built around the same mission, giving cat owners the real science behind what their cats are doing and why. Not myths, not guesses. The actual biology. Hit subscribe so you never miss one. And drop your cat's name in the comments below. Tell us one signal from this video that you are going to start watching for today. We read every single comment. And in the next video, we are going to go even deeper into the one behavior most owners misread as aggression that is actually the strongest form of trust a cat ever shows a person.